Mom. After more than half a year with absolutely no contact, I received a call from my daughter Jen. It was past 8 p.m. It was rare for Jen, who had her own family, to call at such an hour, unless it was during the day. I had a gut feeling that something must have happened.
Jen? What's going on at this hour? What happened?
At first, Jen didn't answer. All I could hear was a whooshing sound, like air leaking through the receiver. Mom. With a voice as if squeezing it out, Jen finally spoke.
Jen! What's wrong? Are you really okay?
Mom, help me. Sensing an emergency, I pressed the speakerphone button. Immediately, my husband Mike rushed over to listen in.
Jen, hold on. What happened?
It hurts. I haven't eaten anything. I might not make it.
What do you mean you haven't eaten anything?
I'm not allowed to eat by my in-laws, nothing. The image of Jen crawling on the floor, desperately reaching out for my help, flashed in my mind.
We have to save Jen!
Mike exclaimed, grabbed the car keys, and headed for the door.
I'm coming to get you right now!
I shouted into the phone, hurrying after my husband. My name is Sally, 70 years old. Currently, my husband and I run a diner together. Mike, who trained at a famous restaurant in his youth, is well regarded for his skills. Mike and I met through a family introduction and decided to start our own place upon getting married. Not only is Mike skilled, but his adept conversation skills and unpretentious personality have won over many regular customers. I've been helping out in the diner for nearly 30 years now, but lately, I've started to feel my body declining. Maybe it's my age, but just moving a little makes my back hurt. Mike has suggested hiring part-time help, but while I appreciate his concern, I worry about labor costs and prefer to work as long as I am able. Sometimes, Mike jokingly laments, if only she were here to help us out, referring to our only daughter, Jen. Since Jen is already independent with her own family, we can't exactly ask her to come back and help with the diner. Jen currently lives with her husband Aaron, their son Jim, and her mother-in-law Kate in the next town over, about an hour's drive from our home. Recently, her sister-in-law Amy has joined them, having returned home after a divorce. I don't know the details, but I've heard that Amy came back after her marriage ended. I had hoped Jen would help out at our diner after graduating from college, but she wanted to see a bigger world and left home. She then landed a job at a major department store, working in the ladies' fashion section. Fresh out of college, Jen quickly won over customers with her charm and innate cheerfulness. It was there she met Aaron, who would become her husband. Aaron worked in the store's external sales department, catering to affluent customers purchasing luxury goods, a role considered prestigious within the company. When Jen first introduced Aaron to me, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of unease. Are you sure it's okay to marry such a perfect man? Indeed, Aaron had a handsome face and a way with words that charmed many a female customer, some of whom visited the store just to see him. Yet, Jen reassured me with a carefree smile, "It's okay, Mom. Don't worry. I trust him." Afterward, Jen married Aaron and chose to quit her job at the department store, dedicating herself to supporting her husband as a full-time homemaker. The following year, with the birth of my grandson Jim, I was relieved and overjoyed to have a grandchild. It seems that despite everything, those two are doing well. For a while, my daughter and her husband lived as a family of 3 in an apartment, but 5 years ago, following the death of her father-in-law, they moved to the in-laws' house, thinking it would be hard for the elderly mother-in-law to live alone. Jen would call home from time to time, but she began to lament that Aaron was often not home lately. Aaron said he was late at work yesterday and ended up staying at a junior's apartment. It's been happening a lot recently. And on weekends, he's away for business golf. Still, Jen would laugh it off over the phone, suggesting it might just be the fate of a working adult. One day, I decided to call Jen after a long time. Jim's birthday is coming up, right? Do you have any plans during the day? We don't have anything specific at the moment. Why? Perfect. Our diner is closed that day, so how about I take you and Jim out? To an amusement park or an aquarium, somewhere he'd enjoy.
That sounds nice. Aaron has been so busy with work recently, he hardly comes home. Jim's been bored because we can't take him out.
Jen sounded excited over the phone, but as Jim's birthday approached, she called me. Sorry, Mom. It's hard to say this, but we've made other plans since then. I'm really sorry.
Other plans? What happened?
There's a birthday party organized by the Children's Association. So, we can't make it that day. The Children's Association. I see, we can't just cancel on them. I was disappointed but decided to move on. Then it doesn't have to be Jim's birthday. Just let me know whenever you're free. Sorry, Mom. It looks like we won't be able to go out for a while. Next week, there's a nature workshop for the Children's Association, and the week after that, swimming lessons start. It's a busy time. Kids these days sure are busy. It's a shame, but it seems we have to give up. I had been looking forward to seeing my grandson, so my disappointment was significant. I asked a regular customer who's raising children about the kind of video game system that kids like these days and sent it to Jim as a gift. Mom, the gift arrived. Thank you. Jen called to thank me. However, I felt something was off with the voice of my daughter, which should have been familiar. Was it a mother's intuition? Usually bright and cheerful, Jen sounded somehow gloomy that day. What's wrong? You sound tired today. Not at all. I'm as cheerful as always. Is that so? Well, if you say so. Anyway, thank you for the game console. About that, I'm not up to date with what kids these days like, so I just went with what someone suggested. Did Jim enjoy it? Of course, he did. He said, "Grandma knows best." He was delighted. For some reason, Jen seemed eager to end the call. It was as if she was trying to avoid prolonging our conversation. Are you all managing okay? Why do you ask all of a sudden? We're fine. So, don't worry about us. You complained about Aaron coming home late. Has anything changed since then? Oh, you worry too much. I told you not to mind. Forget about that. Look, phone calls aren't free, and I should hang up now. You must be busy with the diner, right? Wait a minute. It's not about me right now, it's about you. But before I could finish, Jen hung up the phone. Just asking about how things were, why would Jen try so hard to push me away? It was as if she didn't want her home life to be scrutinized, dodging my questions and cutting off the conversation abruptly. I can't shake the feeling that something is not right. I felt uneasy. After the diner closes, Mike and I would have a quiet drink in the living room, a daily ritual to relax and reflect on the day. That night, as usual, we were relaxing together. I'm concerned about Jen. Something seems off. She looks tired, or maybe it's more accurate to say she's lacking energy. I can't pinpoint it exactly. Do you call her often? I just called her this afternoon. But she abruptly hung up on me. Is she trying to distance herself from you? More than distancing, I think she doesn't want to worry me. It's just a mother's intuition, so it might not be reliable, but I feel like Jen is hiding something from me. Mike crossed his arms and fell silent for a while before saying, "Could it be related to that matter?" What matter? After hesitating whether to speak or not, Mike began to talk as if he had made up his mind. I heard something concerning from one of our regulars. About Aaron. What happened to Aaron? The regular said that he saw Aaron coming out of a bar with a woman, not Jen, while he was out in town. That's unlike Aaron. The woman wasn't young, but apparently quite beautiful. She was dressed flamboyantly and seemed to be wearing expensive brands. It must be a case of mistaken identity. I defended Aaron, more to avoid causing a rift between Jen and him than out of conviction. It might be more accurate to say it's a parent's concern. Of course, the regular didn't get a clear look. It was just someone who looked like Aaron. I don't want to take his word for it without question. Yet, I've heard that Aaron has been coming home late recently and going out more on weekends. Perhaps, unknown to us, Aaron is seeing another woman besides Jen. Without any concrete information, I can't help but think the worst. I'm worried about Jen. She never complains or shows weakness. If she knows about this and is struggling, don't think too negatively. I'll do what I can. For starters, I know a lawyer among our regulars. I'll consult with him. Since then, I've been so concerned about Jen that I've even broken dishes I was washing. What's wrong? You seem tired yourself. I stopped working to call Jen several times, but she hardly ever answered. Occasionally, she'd call back to say, "I'm fine," with a simplicity that was astonishing. Whenever I tried to delve deeper into family matters, she'd laugh it off and hang up quickly. Jen's voice, heard over the phone, seemed to lose its vitality with each call, sounding almost as if it might vanish. Remembering Jen's charming smile, beloved by everyone before she got married, my anxiety grew daily, and I was overwhelmed with tears. Half a year later, Jen, who had stopped all contact, suddenly called. It was after 8 p.m. It was rare for Jen, with her own family, to call at such an hour unless something serious had happened. I felt it instinctively.
Jen? What's wrong at this hour? What happened?
Jen didn't answer. I could only hear a whooshing sound, as if air was leaking from the other end of the line. Yet, I was certain Jen was there.
Is there no one around you? Are you alone?
Since I couldn't hear any background noise, that was my conclusion. Mom. Jen finally spoke in a frail voice, as if squeezing the words out.
Jen! What's wrong? Are you really okay?
Mom, help me. Sensing an emergency, I pressed the speakerphone button. Mike hurried over to listen.
Jen, stay strong. Tell me what happened.
I'm in pain. I haven't eaten anything. I might not make it.
Not eaten anything? What do you mean?
I'm not allowed to eat anything by my in-laws. The image of Jen crawling on the floor, desperately reaching out for help, flashed through my mind.
We have to do something, or Jen is in danger.
Mike shouted, grabbing the car keys and heading to the front door.
I'm going to pick her up right now.
I yelled into the phone, hurrying after my husband. Throughout the drive, we were silent. Mike kept his grip on the steering wheel, his brows furrowed and veins standing out on his forehead. There was an indescribable anxiety and anger within us, possibly because our only daughter might be suffering unjustly. If I looked in the mirror, I'm sure I'd see the same expression on my face as on Mike's. Fighting back the urge to cry, I closed my eyes, and Jen's innocent, youthful smile came to mind. The image of a pure and innocent girl, reaching out to us with her small hands, trying to share her happiness, filled me with frustration. Jen was asking for help. Thinking this made us feel incredibly pathetic for not noticing her pain sooner. Just from the sound of her voice on the phone, it was clear Jen was in a weakened state, even without seeing her directly. It was unbelievable that Jen, who always had a vibrant smile, was asking for help in such a voice. Looking out the passenger window at the dark streets, I thought, this must be a dream. I must be having a nightmare. Passing through a quiet residential area, the light leaking from each house seemed to carry the laughter of families, reminding me of how things should be for Jen and us, bringing a new wave of sadness. The journey that would take an hour during the day was quicker now that the rush hour had passed, and the roads were relatively clear. We arrived at Aaron's house in no time. Are you okay? If you want, I can go alone. Mike offered his concern with gentle words, but this was a problem for our family. I braced myself for whatever reality awaited us. We will definitely save Jen with our own hands. Ringing the doorbell, we waited a moment before a carefree voice responded from inside. Hi, who is it at this time? Contrary to the urgent call from Jen, Aaron's voice was too relaxed and peaceful, leaving us puzzled. I'm Sally, Jen's mother. After I introduced myself, Aaron went silent, possibly wary, then slowly said, is there something wrong, and cracked open the door, peeking out at us standing outside.
Sorry to bother you at this hour, Aaron. But we have something important to discuss.
Mike wedged his foot in the slightly open door and forcefully pushed it open.
Hey, what are you doing? We're coming in.
With a determined attitude, we made our way into the house.
Standing in front of a dimly lit, narrow room at the end of the hallway, Jen is in here, isn't she? For some reason, we felt no hesitation, believing our daughter was there, calling out for our help.
This is beyond rude.
Even if you are Jen's parents, I'll call the police.
Then do it.
It might be good to have the police witness this.
Mike, undeterred, forcefully slid open the room's door. There, Jen was curled up on the floor, looking as if she had been discarded like an old rag. It took a few seconds for our brains to recognize that this was our daughter, so drastically had her appearance changed, her body emaciated and in a pitiable state.
Jen! Oh, what has happened here?
We cried out in voices that weren't our own as we rushed to Jen, lifting her weakened body. Mom, help. I'm in pain. I can't anymore. Jen barely managed to respond with labored breaths. It was immediately clear she was dehydrated and barely conscious, slurring her words.
What are you all doing?
Please, leave now. Aaron attempted to dismiss us as if we were intruders, his voice lacking any conviction. His eyes darted around fearfully, his body trembling.
Aaron, get some water now.
I can't just.
Don't argue, just bring it.
Overwhelmed by my fierce shouting, Aaron ran to the kitchen and quickly returned with a bottle of water from the fridge. I snatched it, opened the cap, and handed it to Jen.
Here, Jen! Drink this water.
Hearing the commotion, Kate and Amy also came.
What's all this noise about? It's so loud I can't hear the TV. I'm the one who wants an explanation here.
Mike, with anger in his eyes, questioned Aaron, who immediately prostrated himself in apology. I'm so sorry. Then Aaron began to explain why Jen ended up in such a state, which was beyond our imagination. It seems things were fine at first when Jen and her husband started living with Aaron's mother, Kate. However, as Aaron began coming home late, Kate's attitude towards Jen suddenly turned cold. When Jen, worried about Aaron's late returns, consulted Kate, she was blamed for Aaron's behavior instead of being comforted. Jen had no idea why she was being blamed, especially when Kate told her it was because she hadn't regained her pre-pregnancy figure after giving birth to Jim. From then on, Kate imposed all household chores on Jen, along with dietary restrictions. Despite this, Jen tried to stay positive, but it seemed Kate found no amusement in that. The harassment escalated, and under the guise of preventing impulse purchases, Kate took control of all Jen's finances. Amy, Aaron's sister who had returned home after a divorce, joined in, finding the situation interesting, and Kate entrusted her with monitoring Jen whenever she was away. The hardest part for Jen was being denied the chance to care for Jim herself. Despite living under the same roof, there's nothing more painful than not being able to raise your own child. Kate even forbade Jen from seeing Jim, having Amy stop her if she tried to approach his room. While Jen was forced to clean the bathroom and toilet as a form of punishment, Kate spent quality time with Jim. This is all I know. Aaron finished, collapsing from his knees.
Don't speak of our family's shame so lightly. Yeah, I can't believe you'd spill such nonsense to strangers. You've really lost your nerve, brother. There's more you're hiding, isn't there?
There must be. Aaron looked up, his face filled with anxiety. Just then, a taxi stopped at the entrance, and someone got out. He seems to have arrived. The Aaron family was confused, unable to grasp the situation. A tall, slender gentleman in his 50s appeared, causing Aaron's face to pale instantly.
It seems you recognize this gentleman here.
Aaron said nothing, but it was clear he could no longer deny the situation. He just waited for time to pass, avoiding our gaze. Good evening. My name is Ken, an actor. This is my first time meeting everyone from the Aaron family, isn't it? Ken said, looking each of us in the eye. Ken was once a popular actor known to everyone, but as he aged, his popularity waned, leaving only his name known to the public.
Why would Ken come to our house?
Kate asked on behalf of the Aaron family, her smile strained and her voice high-pitched, clearly shaken.
I invited Ken here. Before coming, I contacted a lawyer friend and asked Ken to come as well. And what relation does Ken have with us?
Kate tried to feign ignorance, but I smirked and said,
You can't say you don't know. You must have some idea why Ken is here.
Then, the lawyer arrived late.
Sorry for the delay. I was sorting out some documents for another case, and it took longer than expected.
With the lawyer's arrival, the Aaron family fell silent.
Based on a request from Sally, I've been investigating Aaron's personal affairs for the past 6 months. It turns out Aaron has been meeting frequently with a certain woman, a wealthy heiress from the department diner he works at. And upon investigating this woman, we uncovered an astonishing fact. The woman is my wife, Hannah.
Ken added calmly to the lawyer's explanation.
I was surprised when my wife suggested divorce, but deep down, I thought, I knew it, since she had been sneaking out on her own for a while. So, after hearing various stories from this attorney, I've come to understand the situation. That's why I wanted to hear directly from Aaron, who is involved in this matter, and that's why I've come to you today.
Slowly rising to his feet, Aaron began to speak in a faint voice, as if he were a soulless shell.
My encounter with Hannah, as mentioned earlier, originated from our relationship as a major department store client and a salesperson. Over the years of working together, we found ourselves in a different kind of relationship. At first, I thought it was just a fling. But then I discovered Hannah was pregnant, and we realized we couldn't turn back. So, we decided to leave our partners and remarry. I'm truly sorry for everything.
Standing defiantly, Ken watched as Aaron fervently prostrated himself at his feet.
When I was a celebrated actor, adored by the public, Hannah always had the brightest smile for me. But now, with my work dwindling, meeting a handsome man like you, she couldn't resist. She's someone who must have what she likes, no matter what.
With that, Ken gave a weak laugh. Aaron, who had wanted to divorce Jen, found himself unable to propose it straightforwardly due to his affair, which would make him liable for alimony. Thus, Aaron turned to his mother, Kate, for support. Initially, Kate expressed concern about the social repercussions of a divorce but changed her tune completely when she learned the other woman was wealthy, offering her eager cooperation. Believing that if Jen initiated the divorce, alimony wouldn't be necessary, Kate began to harass her relentlessly, aiming to drive her out of the house.
I trusted you.
Struggling to her feet, Jen burst into tears, overwhelmed by the betrayal of her in-laws.
I thought if I lost weight, Aaron would return to me. I endured all the unreasonable demands from my mother-in-law and Amy, thinking it was all for that. But it was all a scheme to push me out.
It's okay. You've done nothing wrong. You don't have to push yourself anymore. I embraced my daughter tightly.
Indeed, I wanted to divorce Jen. But never could I have imagined that my mother and Amy would go to such extremes. Even I am appalled. Wait just a moment. I was only trying to help you by getting Jen out of this house. It's your fault for having an affair in the first place. That's right. Even you, brother, turned a blind eye to everything we've been doing. And now, you act as if you knew nothing. As the three hurled insults at each other, I was speechless. Jen, trembling, exclaimed, "Enough. If you so desperately want me out, I'll leave on my own accord."
Well, that's convenient for us.
You shouldn't be pleased, Kate. I will never forgive you. Once we're divorced, I'll make sure to claim a substantial amount in alimony, just so you're prepared.
With that declaration, Jen's voice echoed throughout the house.
Jim, where are you?
Come here. We'll live with Grandma and Grandpa from now on.
Okay, I got it.
Jim rushed down the stairs energetically and embraced Jen. Following the scandal of his affair with a client, Aaron was forced out of his company for severely damaging the corporate image. As promised, Jen filed for divorce and demanded a significant amount in alimony. Having lost his job and now burdened with alimony payments, Aaron, after a fierce argument with Kate and Amy, was forced to sell the house reluctantly. Jen's wrath did not end there. She also filed for a substantial compensation for emotional and physical distress against Kate and Amy. Despite the harassment, Jen meticulously documented every incident in a notebook, which proved advantageous in court. Back at her parents' home, Jen gradually recovered, both mentally and physically, regaining her former cheerfulness. Despite ongoing issues with Aaron's family, everything was resolved with the help of a skilled attorney. Rumor has it that Aaron and Hannah eventually had a child. Without work and having sold his house, Aaron lived off Hannah's wealth, but he lost all will to work, becoming increasingly unkempt. Moreover, with the demanding Kate and Amy joining them, it was too much for Hannah, who had been raised in luxury, leading her to leave with their child. After Hannah, the wealthy heiress, left, the fate of Aaron and his mother became a matter I neither know nor care to find out about.
All right. Time to make up for too much idleness. I must get to work starting today.
With that resolve, Jen began helping out in the diner, taking my place as I struggled with back pain. Originally, having worked at a major department store, Jen's reputation quickly made waves locally, and it grew into a bustling establishment with lines out the door every day.
Now that we've got a new idol, I've got no regrets left, I said.
I stopped working at the shop and spent my free time watching over Jim as much as possible. Jim will soon be a middle schooler, but at his elementary school graduation, he declared, "I want to be a cool chef like Grandpa," making Mike and me weep with joy. We are now eagerly looking forward to what the future holds for Jim.